think because it's interesting. We are so intentional at work. You know, when we go to work and we do supervision and we do this and we do that, and it's like how we don't do that in our own. But obviously, it has to be different. So for me, doing some of that in your relationship can feel unnatural. So it's how do you get into a place where it's like you're naturally giving and you're not punishing them whether they receive the message or not. You just give from a place of purity. It's like I'm trying to make life wonderful for myself and others.
That's it.
But it's not from a place of like, if you don't respond how I want you to respond, then I'm punishing you for it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? But there is something about like how you live your life. So for instance, you know you've got your daily rituals that you might do. So you might meditate. Does your partner meditate? Does this align? If your partner do they allow space for you to do that? Is it comfortable? It's all these little things that start to play in. How do you eat? Do you eat together? Do you eat separately? How do you relate to each other? When do you communicate? Do you communicate when things are about to be on the edge? Because often you find people start communicating properly when they're scared, when they're in fear, or they're about to potentially break up. And you're like, I've done it. I'm like, the only time I'm probably communicating is when we're in a place of like dysfunction. It's like, it's the first time I've told you how I really feel.
And we don't give each other enough positive.
Right, and so it's like, even little things like, am I intentional about, okay, you know what, let's switch it up today. Let's have some fun. Like, let's do a cook-off, me and you, whatever. But, like, how intentional, what happens is we get comfortable 5 years in, 6 years in, whatever it is, and then you're just like, well, I believe I know you, but you don't. Because they're constantly evolving, you're constantly evolving.
I see a lot of people in relationships that love each other but don't really like each other. So a lot of the things that you was talking about just then,
they can't live without them, but they don't want to live with them.
Yeah, literally. And a lot of the things you spoke about being intentional, about having like you saying it would be natural for it to be so structured, like work, how we have like line management meetings, and we take everything so seriously. But in a relationship, we might not hardly do any of that. Like, might not put enough thought, effort, time, structure in. Sometimes to do all of that, you really got to really like and love the person. A lot of people in relationships, I feel, don't always like each other enough to go the extra mile, to sit down, have the patience, be emotionally available all the time, just give them more energy to everything else, the work, the friends, with the relationship.
The thing is, I think it goes both ways. I think you've got people that like each other and don't love each other, and love each other and don't like.
But also, do they, within that, this is where it goes back to freedom, like, do you have the freedom to just be out, coming back in?
Sorry, relationships aren't about freedom.
That's compromise.
This thing here is about captivity. It's about I own you. It's a dictatorship. It's not about freedom, bro.
I understand, but I'm just saying, if you've got the freedom to just be, right, without having to, like, if you're just being, it means that you're hurting your partner. Because a lot of, in this scenario, they just go out, you don't see them often, what are they doing? It's like, well, what if I'm actually doing something productive, and my intention is, I'm working for us, and I'm happy, and you understand that, then you've got the freedom to do what you're doing, and then they're like, okay, so I've got the freedom to be what I'm doing, and I'm learning from myself, like, I can start doing some stuff from home, or being creative.
I want my partner to be like, I've got to stay in because otherwise she'll be upset. I want him to stay because he wants to stay in, to chill with me.
Yeah, but there's other side to that, is, like, for me, I want go out.
Yeah.
Like, go and
do
do
what
I
want you to do.
I actually don't.
I like my own space. I used to always want my ex to go out. I used to be like, going out this weekend. Like, do you know what I mean?
But even when it comes to parenting as well, it's like, people seem to think that parenting is like, you both have to be in there all the time. But models that I see working is when one of the parents says, listen, you've been doing your thing. Mum, go out.
Yeah.
No, I don't want. You need to go out.
Yeah.
Have you?
Go and
then
see,
once they start doing
you
it,
know
they're
what
like,
to do with yourself more time.
Yeah, it's good.
You don't,
but why you calling me?
But the power of the
I
partnership.
don't even eat.
I
don't even eat when the kids are not there.
The power of the partnership.
I don't need to cook. I'm like, take away or just get.
But when that happens,
find someone
and
to
someone gives you space to just do that, that partnership then becomes, damn, that's what a partnership feels like, because they see me, they see, I don't care if you don't eat or whatever, go and get your space.
Yeah. You know what I think? I think that who said it? I think T said it last week. It's like we need to start looking at things completely differently. We need to start, like, the model or the idea of relationships need to be destroyed and rebuilt. The way we're looking at love relationships, what it's like to be in a space with someone, it has to change. Because we all know that we've gotten our ideas of what this thing is through this Western world. Like,
you know, I can honestly say I don't have a clue of what it's supposed to look like.
part of that is good, right? But then the other part is knowing, okay, I'm willing to actually redefine what a relationship is, because this obviously ain't working.
And also for ourselves. When I say that, is
For ourselves,
redefine what a relationship is for me.
That's what I mean,
or for us, because like we said, with meeting someone on your level, if you meet someone and regardless of wherever you're at, no two relationships are the same. Even if you go through certain, when I say it, like someone could be falling into abusive relationships all the time. You could go from one to the other, but even still, even if they've got similar traits, they're not going to be exactly the same because it's different people. There's
It
always
goes against what you just
something.
said though. As you're saying is, I'm thinking, no one's on the same level as anyone.
But no, but that's my point. So nothing's going to be exactly the same. So that's why it's always going to be what's a relationship for us, because what goes for you and that person, what goes for you and that person, what goes for them and that person, it's always going to be different. So from the outside looking in, you might say, oh, they always go for this type of person, that's always, but unless you don't know what's spoken, you don't know what's done, unless it's physically there in front, and then it's still down to interpretation.
And you know, even the relationships that didn't work out, it actually did work.
Yeah, at the
For
time.
the time.
Anyway.
Right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that those relationships could have possibly worked. Both of you just weren't equipped to make it work.
Going like that space.
And
in that space.
You are mature.
100%.
Listen, I'll do one.
And
I wouldn't want to.
It kind of depends on the person, because we all come from different backgrounds and different things. And if I go back to the guy in the show again, him going on about his childhood trauma and not knowing how to deal with that, and it coming out in aggression and stuff, it's like a...
that's my point though. We're not equipped to be in these relationships. We haven't been given the tools to make these relationships work, because someone's angry ain't you're angry, but it's still angry. It's just understanding.
Can't it just be as simple as they're not for you?
No. They
lesson.
were for you then.
Yeah, but you learnt the lesson. You didn't need
Yeah,
to make it work.
No, I'm not saying that you needed to make it work. I'm not saying that whatsoever. What I am saying is that man and woman both have their issues, right? We're not necessarily equipped and we're not given the tools to actually see things for what they are. Certain things are always off the cards. Like, if that happens, boom, go. But at the same time, when we actually think about it, we all know it's not rocket science. But a lot of us...
But it is rocket science. That's why we're having this conversation, because we don't know.
If
there was a
it's
blueprint
simple,
for us to
but
be
it's
like,
not
okay,
simple.
let's do that.
It's a
Then
paradox.
we would
I'll
do
take
this
that.
in the
It's a
past.
paradox. It's a paradox.
I think it's a 50.
Go on.
I hear what they're saying, but I don't know if I fully agree, because the reason being,
What do
you're
you
right.
agree with?
What I don't agree is that to say the person that you was with at the time was right for you. Because if the person you was with at the time was right for you, you would seek how you would stay together. And I think everybody has that ability to seek it. It might have taken a long time.
No, the right
It might
for you.
take a long time.
It's the lesson you've learned from
Yeah,
it.
right, it's the lesson.
So
Yeah.
that it was okay, they were the right for right now.
That's what I'm
Right
saying.
on your journey.
But what you said that, like, we didn't have the tools to kind of work in that relationship. So basically, if we were equipped with the tools, regardless if the relationship was abusive or not, you're saying that if we had the tools, we would still be with that
I
first
reckon
partner.
you would have stood a better chance.
Whereas you're saying we don't need tools because they weren't meant to go past a certain point.
Because I think at the end of the day, it goes back to what you said. Everyone's got different morals. Everyone's got different upbringing. Everyone's got different ways of looking at things. You might see something and think, oh, it's green. Might think, oh, it's blue. And we might compromise, say, okay, it's turquoise. But at the end of the day, you still might have that thing of saying, no, I'm definitely saying it's green. And I'm saying it's definitely blue.
Which means you're
And that's-
pacifying.
and that's fine.
Right? And that's fine. But then it means that, okay, I'll go find someone else that thinks it's blue, and you go find someone else that's green. There's nothing wrong with that.
Why though? Why
But
can't
the thing
it be green for you and blue for me?
No, but it can. But I'm
What do we
saying
teach the
you've got
kids?
people. You've
Compromise.
got
That's
people
what we're on the same
compromise.
page with
But the thing
everything.
is, it's compromising, and not everybody is willing to compromise. Like I was willing to compromise with my ex-partner, right? I was willing to say, do you know what? Boom, let's go and see if we can go and have therapy
And you lost
partner
yourself,
and
right?
relationship. But I lost myself because I'm trying to see what I can do to work in a relationship with someone who genuinely was just like, oh, we don't need to get any support work. But the thing is, it was more the trauma that he was dealing with, that why it was having an effect on our relationship,
Yeah, which
because
is
he
why
didn't know how to
discipline comes in.
communicate
As well.
within, because he didn't focus on. I'm more, even though I'm saying it's for us, I know that it's more for him.
So what is
No,
it?
but
I'm
that's-
trying to understand.
So what I'm
I think it's the
basically-
word equipped.
the word
What we
equipped.
use
So
is
basically,
that-
I'm saying to you that there is sometimes people are just not for that particular person, regardless what life we're in
Or what tools.
or what tools we're in.
Just
Because
don't be
it's
worth using
lessons
tools.
learned.
Yeah, but what I'm
Because
saying is, you was there,
you were there. Yeah, you were there.
so it
Same
was
way-
meant for you
It was
at
meant-
the time.
But she
The
didn't
thing
need
is-
tools to
the
make
thing
it
is-
work.
Everyone needs tools to make their
The
relationship
thing is-
work.
No,
The
but
thing is-
it didn't work.
The thing is,
So therefore, it's
They
not
have
No,
tools.
but it worked for the time.
all right. So think about a relationship.
She's seen it as a bigger picture of getting a lesson that you needed to get
Yeah,
out.
that's what I'm
So
saying.
at the end of the day,
I agree with
regardless,
that.
it was in that moment.
Yeah.
So she
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
have
so
that
therefore
experience.
it's nothing
to do with
Yeah, I agree with that.
It,
Yeah.
it has.
No,
Everyone's got skills
Come
to
into it.
Okay.
bring to the
Yeah,
table, no?
But if it was meant to come to an end where it did, why what's the
Absolutely.
tools for?
But if you've got, just to give you an example, mental health, right? It's a real thing, right? If you've been trauma-informed, trained, you will have a very different conversation in a very different style than
Very
if you
different
wasn't,
experience.
if you didn't have trauma-informed training,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which means you would talk to someone in a certain way, and it would break down that barrier that was
Because you have the
initially there.
tools.
Okay.
And
but
that's
that
the, that's
doesn't
the
mean it would work
It
out.
doesn't mean it doesn't mean it works out.
I'm not
It's just
saying
that
that
it's
it
a
may-
chance.
I'm not,
It-
wait, I'm not saying that it would work out.
What he's
I'm not
what
saying
he's
that it
saying
would
is,
work
is
out.
just having tools. It's
That's
as
all
simple
I'm
as that.
saying.
Yeah, I hear
But
that.
sometimes, because sometimes by having tools, it can actually work. But also, the main thing is the lesson.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you
And
would
I
go
agree
through
with
that.
The
Yeah,
lesson,
that's-
you need the lesson. You need to learn the lesson. That's totally
the main
agree.
thing is the
But I
lesson.
think what I think I heard
Yeah.
is that he's saying because of that time, if we had the tools at that time
It
to
would-
save that relationship,
worked.
then it would have worked.
See, I got
Comprehension's a motherfucker. Comprehension is a motherfucker.
I'll hear where you're going with it.
Yeah.
Was that if you had the tools to equip you to navigate around things differently, there was potential.
That's what I took.
So I didn't see that it was going to end or you're going to carry on, but there was potential for it to outgrow where it stopped.
Yeah,
But what-
you've stood more
But then
chance.
Yeah.
Right, but then there's an argument between potential and it actually fully working. Because I know whatever relationship I'm going in next, you ain't going nowhere. Because I ain't doing this again. You ain't going nowhere. I don't care.
You wanted to put them with this one, but she said you're
So the door's
You-
locked.
you
He's in
ain't
jail.
going
He's
nowhere.
already in
But the
jail.
reason why, no, listen, wait.
I'm trying to. What
The
you saying?
reason why.
Don't come
because I-
disturb me and try and leave.
The reason.
So it's captivity.
No,
Is that enough?
no,
It's captivity.
Yeah, that's captivity. That one is. That one is.
I mean, it's going back to what you're saying.
Yeah,
You
go,
know-
go, go,
No.
go.
But the reason why I'm saying, it's going back to what you're saying. We have the tools to understand.
To
So you
lock the
see
door.
now,
Ain't no break
so
or
you see
freedom
now,
around
so
here.
you see now, the tools is knowing how to work
That's new
together.
style.
So you do all the things that we've been discussing. You do that, go into the dates, and you review how a relationship's going. You're not going to wait until, oh, we're going on a break. Because we're going to be
Of course.
talking about that. The
Exactly.
communication is going to be improved.
Yeah.
We're going to, if anything is
Tag,
upsetting,
remand.
anything,
All sorts
anything,
going on.
anything
Yo.
that is
He's not going
anything that's
anywhere.
right. But also, like you're going back
Pocket
to
money.
saying, having a partner, having a partner where they can go out and don't feel like, oh, I've got to stay in with my partner because if I don't, it's going to be a problem.
You're gonna
You
end up
don't
with
want-
remand.
You want to be right. You want to be with a person that you can be yourself,
Yeah.
regardless who you're with.
Yeah.
So that's what it goes
Yeah.
back down to. Going back to what you said, you have the tools, so you don't have to feel like, oh, if I talk to my partner about this, it's going to be a problem.